Contrast is a crucial tool for analysts. By leveraging pre-attentive attributes, contrast in our Dataviz can elicit quick reactions in the brain while keeping the prefrontal cortex relaxed and calm, which is a key to any great data visualization. This allows analysts to present information without provoking too much critical thinking from their audience, keeping their attention fully centered on the topic at hand. When, of course, the use of contrast is done correctly and done well. Let's learn more about contrast and how to apply it in a sophisticated way today on ArtScience. Hey there, I'm Kevin Hartman, Associate Professor at the University of Notre Dame and founder of the ArtScience Analytics Institute, where our mission is to make you a better data analyst. Several forms of contrast can be used to improve visuals and communicate insights effectively. These forms include size, color, shape, and what we will call contrived contrast. In this video, we will explain each form of contrast, take a look at some best practice examples of its use, and share basic guidelines as well as some pro tips that can make your use of contrast sophisticated and eye-catching for all the right reasons. Let's begin with size contrast. The use of various sizes of objects on a page can be attention-grabbing. The greater the contrast in size, the more likely it is that the objects will catch the viewer's eye. This visual representation of size contrast, created by David McCandless, displays a stark comparison between the average time American adults spend watching television in a year and the time it took to create Wikipedia. A great deal of information is communicated simply by using different sized objects. Now, when you are using size contrast in your data visualizations, here's a few things to consider. First off, make sure that you're maintaining the proportional differences in size. Even if you're creating these visualizations by hand, make sure you know the measurements, make sure you are aware of the full surface area of the image that you are displaying so that you can ensure that they are an accurate representation of data. To this end, keep a consistent scale to ensure that accurate comparison as well. And then keep your visuals that are using or employing the size contrast simple. Use a simple shape, use squares, use rectangles, use shapes that are easy for your audience to see the size difference. There might be a tendency, or I've seen a tendency, of using really elaborate shapes like icons and others. The more elaborate the shape, the more difficult it's going to be for your audience to really see those size differences. Communicate that difference using a simple shape and you'll be better off. Now, as you become more comfortable with the use of size contrast, take it up a notch by bringing in other forms of contrast as well. For instance, using color in addition to size contrast. This can further differentiate the images in your data visualization, really drive home the difference in the two objects that you're presenting. Now let's look at color contrast. Incorporating contrasting colors into an image is a great strategy for grabbing attention. By using multiple colors in a chart, each object is given its own distinct identity. Color also enhances the overall visual impact of an image when that color is presented in an effective and sophisticated way. My recommendation to analysts when creating charts and using color contrast to differentiate objects on their slide is that analysts opt for a subtle background color, such as grays or some other muted color. To highlight important elements, use vibrant colors then against those muted gray colors that keep the unimportant details in the background and allow those parts of your image that you really want the audience to see really pop out to the front. Varying levels of color saturation, for instance, just using different shades of a blue hue or a red hue, can also achieve the effect of color contrast. This example uses a mix of muted and bold colors to create contrast and make elements really stand out on the page. Now, when using color contrast in your data visualization, you want to balance the use of muted tones with vibrant colors. And my recommendation would be to never use more than, say, two vibrant hues, a red and a blue, a red and a green. Otherwise, you start overwhelming the viewer. If everything on your page is a vibrant primary color, say, your audience isn't going to know where to look. So limiting those vibrant hues to one, possibly two, will keep the viewer from feeling overwhelmed and allow those elements that you want to rise to the top of your page really jump out. Another thing you want to be mindful of is the use of color that is accessible to all. Some portion of your audience is going to be colorblind. They're going to struggle to differentiate different hues. There are a number of online tools that can help you design in a way that is inclusive, is accessible for all. These tools allow you to simply upload your image, and then it will present it back to you as it would present to someone with certain types of color blindness. By putting this test, by putting your visual through this test, you'll be able to see how the contrast holds up with the color hues that you've chosen. In that way, you can make informed selections of color hues to ensure that they are indeed accessible to all. Another thing you'll want to consider is the color psychology and how it influences viewers' perceptions. Typically, a red means something very different from a green. Understand what these hues mean and how they register with your audience so that you are creating a data visualization that's presenting the right emotional tone. Similar to how audiences perceive differences in size and color, they will also interpret various shapes within your images. The use of different shapes effectively conveys the distinctiveness of each element to viewers. When you are designing with shape contrast, choose shapes that are distinctively different to ensure clear contrast and easy recognition. And use the same shape consistently to represent the same type of data or category across your visuals. Icons are especially powerful in creating shape contrast, as people readily recognize that each icon represents a separate element. And when you're using icons, opt for simple shapes and avoid lifelike icons, as the more complex the shapes become to represent the image as it would appear in real life, the more difficult it will be for your audience to determine exactly what it is as that image gets smaller to fit on a page. When you choose an icon that is a simple design and may not represent, say, that image in real life too well, it's going to present very well on the page, and it's going to scale very well. No matter what size you choose that icon to be, your audience will be able to recognize it for what it is. Now, in choosing shapes, never, ever use 3D, as 3D just distorts data perception and makes it more difficult for your audience to recognize what is being presented. Also, never use textured shapes. For a shape that features any kind of texture, is just going to distract your audience and not provide any value for you at all. Finally, let's talk about contrived contrast. Now, this is another form of contrast, and this type involves using boxes, callouts, annotations, other pre-attentive attributes to differentiate elements on a visual and call attention to some area of your chart. These are purposefully designed techniques that catch your audience's eye and draw them to some portion of your data visualization. Use this technique when there's something very important that you want your audience to definitely see. A great example of the use of contrived contrast can be seen in the series of LumaScape charts from investment bank Luma Partners. These charts organize the super complex and complicated world of advertising technology by grouping similar companies together on a single page. The size of each group represents the relative number of companies in that particular area of the ad tech industry. Different colored labels are used to separate each category. However, what makes these charts most effective is the use of contrived contrast through the enclosures that are placed around each group, as well as the boxes that are surrounding companies that have recently been acquired or those that have closed down. This technique allows those data, those groupings to really stand out and capture the viewer's attention. You can see here the difference that it makes when we present the chart without the use of contrived contrast and then with the use of contrived contrast. When the contrived contrast is removed, those boxes and enclosures, it just looks like a sea of icons on the page. Those boxes effectively present the data as they're intended to be presented. Now, when you're using contrived contrast, keep your visuals clean and focused by avoiding the overuse of too many contrasting elements. The LumaScape really just uses two of them, the enclosures and then those boxes. That's probably enough. If you have everything on your page screaming, "Look here," your audience will be overwhelmed. They won't know where to look. My recommendation is really just to use one single contrived contrast element on a page that directs your audience's attention to something that is really, really important. One way to become really good at the use of contrived contrast is just learning to study the work of other top data visualizers. See how they apply this technique. Copy what is effective in their data visualizations into your own work and practice. Incorporating these techniques of contrast into your data visualizations is not just about enhancing aesthetics, it's also about amplifying the effectiveness of your visualizations. By expertly utilizing elements like size, color, shape, and intentional contrived contrast, you can effectively guide your audience's attention towards the essential components of your data and ultimately improve comprehension and retention. Next week, we're going to take a deeper dive into the second rule of effective data visualizations, ensuring clear meaning through a purposeful and directed use of common chart elements. Thanks so much for watching. If you haven't already, take a moment and subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share it with anyone who you think is interested in data analytics. Every single week, we are bringing new, exciting, and important videos on data analytics to this channel, and we would love to have you there for the journey. Also, be sure to check out the links in the description for additional ArtScience resources and sign up for our newsletter to get exclusive tips, course updates, and more directly in your inbox. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next week.